somebody bet me to. You ever see the Japanese spoons? It's not like a regular spoon, but it's almost like little bowls.
Yeah.
Half of that was full of wasabi. Somebody said, if you eat this wasabi, I give you $40. What does Brian do? I eat the whole thing and literally almost pass out for $40.
For $40. That's crazy.
Send that to these jokers.
Three, two. All right, guys, welcome to the Salt Tea Podcast, where we talk about being the salt while drinking some tea. And we have a special guest before I talk about the tea. Brother Brian just told me what coasters you're used for. I never knew. I'm 24, but we're just going to ignore that. So we have a special guest here at the Salt Tea Podcast for the first time ever, Brother Brian Reid, or people know as B Nasty Reid, or what people know you as B Nasty.
It's a lot, but you don't have to call me Brother Brian. You can. I'm just Brian today.
Just Brian today. All right. He is a Grammy award-winning producer, guys. A lot of people know his name. If you just type in "Be Nasty," everybody knows about that. So thank you, Brother Brian, for being on the podcast. Stepping out of your comfort zone for this. I am very nervous. When I had the initial dream of the podcast this year, you're the first person I thought of, and I finally got you up here. So praise the Lord for that.
Wow. Cool.
So I was thinking about that today. I was like, wait, God gave me this dream about having you here, and today's the day it's happening. So I was like, that's so cool to have that dream fulfilled. So today, guys, we have the Arizona green tea. Special request from Brother Brian. This is one of my favorite things. This is what actually got me through college the first 2 years. My lunch every day was this and taquitos at 7-Eleven. That was literally my lunch every day because I didn't have a car. I didn't drive anywhere. So the only place I could walk to at TCC was 7-Eleven. And I got this for 99 cents and taquitos for $2.29.
Yep.
That's what got me through everything. So, Brother Brian, thank you so much for being here. We have a few segments we'll go through, but one thing I want to start talking about initially off the bat is how did you start off your music career? Or actually before that, I know everybody knows you as a producer, but is there anything else when you were a child that you wanted to do? Was there like a second option, or was there actually something else you dreamt of, but then you found yourself being good at this, and then you're like, you know what, I could actually pursue this?
As a child, like if you ask your kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, when they're small? Like when I was small at that age, I wanted to be a lawyer at first.
Then a lawyer?
Then I wanted to be a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Because at that time, it was just like, how can you make the most money? It wasn't about like, what are you good at? You know what I mean? So that was my answer at first. At one point, I wanted to be in the NBA because I started getting good at basketball. So but my passion was always music. It was always music? Yeah.
Okay. So, but when did you make that transition of, you know what, I could do this full time? I don't need to focus on anything else, like being a lawyer or whatnot. When did you make that transition of this is what I could do every day?
So I've always had a piano in the house.
Okay. Yeah, Sister Tammy talks about how you killed it on the recital at 7 years old. You just came up. She was doing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and you just came up and just slammed the whole keyboard.
So, all right. So we started piano lessons at the same time. We only had it for 3 months, Tammy and I both, and she'll laugh about this, but our teacher ended up leaving, but we had one recital after those 3 months, and they made me go last, and Tammy went like right before me, and you know, it was kind of like she said, she kind of, and I was short, so I'm small, so the piano bench is this long, but I'm like really short, and I couldn't reach all the keys, so I'm like sliding up and down to hit all the, because I was using all the keys. I wasn't doing this. Everybody, she was just like,
So with that, did piano just naturally come to you, or was there a moment where you actually learned?
nah, it was natural.
Like from the get-go? Like it was just...
My mom played, my sister played.
Okay.
They didn't really teach me how to play, but just watching them, drums was more natural. I was more rhythm. And I still play drums now, but I'm not good at it, but I know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't something natural, but piano, yeah, it was kind of natural.
Like you didn't have to learn it. Because like to me, like when I started learning piano, so the interesting thing about me is when I was little, my dad wanted me to learn music.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't for it. Like I didn't want to learn music at all. I was like, he got me a keyboard and everything, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I was more into sports and watching games and stuff like that. So that's what I wanted to do. But then as I got older, I was like, God started tugging at my heart to start learning these things. I started learning the guitar first, and then I started learning the piano. But what I learned through YouTube, just watching people and like learning what G chords are, C and all that, and just like muscle memory, learning all that. Nowadays, I'm trying to learn all about the music theory, about families and keys and all this stuff. But so there was never a moment where you sat down and learned it. Just
not that I can remember, to be honest.
That's crazy.
Now my kids, it's different now because they have like you have YouTube, you have stuff like that. But all we had was outside or inside. Either you go outside and play, or you stay inside. And I just stayed inside and tried to figure it out. And I didn't learn theory. I just pressed whatever sounded good to me, or what I would hear, and I just kept it going. And after a while, I was, my mom started coming in just like, and my sister was like, yeah. So
they were like, "You kind of good at this. You should do something with it." So when did that? Back to the transition story. How did you get into producing? How did that journey take off?
Okay, so when I was 15, my mom asked me what I wanted. I guess she had gotten a good tax return or something. I don't know. But she was like, "What do you want?" And I asked her for a keyboard, like a multi-keyboard, like a workstation.
Okay.
And she bought me a Korg. At the time, it was called a Korg Trinity. Right now, they call them Tritons, or I don't even know what it is now. But she bought me a Korg Trinity, and I started making beats on there, and just laying what I knew from piano stuff on top of that. At the time, I also played saxophone too. So I used to make tracks and start playing sax to the tracks that I made. Okay. And I started traveling doing that. But the production side was just like, I'm making like full like songs, like full beats. So I started looking up stuff like people actually do this like for a living. You know what I mean? Yeah. They make bag tracks, they make, So I started looking it up, man. I'm just like, man, I can do this. And I got super hungry, dude. Like,
you got hungry?
Yeah.
Is it physically and then also you're like, wait a minute, I need the money, or you were just hungry?
It's both.
Both. So question about that. I think this is my ignorance and stuff like that. Since I'm in the modern generation of everything is digital, right? Ableton, MIDI, everything is digital. Even when you have live instruments, recording, everything's done digitally. How was it done back then? Like,
we had floppy disk.
Okay, the big. Okay.
They're like this big. Yep. I would stick it into the cord, and I would make the beats, and you had to save it on the disc. And once you pull it out, whether it's saved or not, it's between you and God. But most of the time, it was okay. But then it was the same thing with when I got a drum machine. An MPC was my first drum machine. So I started using both of those. Okay. Same thing. You had this, and I still have the disc to this day. Like I got boxes of them.
How'd you do layers on a track?
What do you mean, like layers?
So there's a moment where you had the piano, and then now you're adding drums on it, and then you add a sax. Like how did the layers work out back then?
On the Triton, that was pretty much my workstation. Okay. It's almost like the computer today. Okay. So I had 16 tracks that I could do my work on. Okay. So I would do the drums here, or the whatever. And sadly, I would do all my drums on one track.
Okay,
Which
you didn't
would
split it
never-
up with the kick, the snare.
I didn't have room. I had 16. That was all I had.
Okay.
So drums, piano, bass, and then whatever I wanted to do after that, it was just laid out that way. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
so I know because in the once you started into the music, I know you ended up moving to LA, and then you met a lot of A-list celebrities or whatnot. But how was that transition from you, or what caused you, or what was in your heart to move to LA, or how did that all work out?
So I had all right, so you can Google this too if you want, but
Okay.
my aunt is excuse me, I got a burp, but I'm trying not to.
You're good. You're good.
My aunt is she's a singer.
Mm-hmm.
She had a hit out at the time. It was called Shorty Swing My Way. Her name is Envy.
Okay.
Her name is Susan to me, but her stage name is Envy. Okay.
Okay.
So she was popping like 1 million plus at the time.
Oh wow.
So she's my mom's little sister. The guy she was with at the time, I started talking to him,
Okay.
trying to, just build relationships because he was our manager
Okay.
and he was really heavily involved in the industry.
Yeah.
So I started talking to him and, we developed a relationship and, I would send him tracks I was doing. And, I was trash at the time. I didn't know I was trash, but I was.
That's hard to imagine, but okay.
It was trash.
It was trash.
So after a while, I started getting better. This was around the age of 16, 17 when I started.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And then between 19 and 20, I was like, look, I knew I wasn't trash. I ain't saying I'm good as I should be, but I wasn't trash.
Uh-huh.
So he flew me out. I met Dr. Dre. That was my hero.
So that was the first thing you did was meet Dr. Dre, straight out the bat.
One of the first, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a big
Well,
step.
like I said, me and him had a relationship. We
Okay.
talked all the
Yeah.
time, and he would always say, "I'm gonna bring you out one."
Yeah.
Excuse me, there was a burp. Excuse me.
You're
So-
good. You're good. It's all good.
He would always say, "One day I'm gonna bring you out."
hmm
So I just kept waiting, and I would call this dude. I swear, like 10 times a day.
Wow.
And one day he actually was like, "Look, come on out." He flew me out. We went to Vegas, and we came back. Drove to LA, met Dr. Dre. From there, it was just like I'm in. I'm all in.
So how was that experience? Because you said Dr. Dre was your hero, and how did you handle that situation when you first? Did you just play it cool? You're like, oh, what's up? My name's Brian, or what was that interaction like?
He knew who I was before I got there
Oh, okay.
because he knew he called me nephew, not Dr. Dre, but
Oh,
my manager at the time. So, like he knew I was coming. It was just weird. I'm just like, I was scared. I didn't talk much, but I did get to speak to him. He gave me some advice and stuff like that. Honestly, it's kind of a blur because I was kind of starstruck at the time.
Uh-huh.
We took pictures and all that, but after that, I'm just like, man, I gotta get here.
Okay.
I was going home.
Oh, so then you were just headed back home. It was just a visit.
Yeah,
at
that
the
was a
moment.
visit. I was
Okay.
there for 2 weeks, I think. But after that, I was just like, I got to get out here because this is where I saw so many people in that one day.
Yeah.
Eminem was in one room.
Dang.
Doggone.
The real Slim Shady.
Mailman was in the other room. Truth Hurts was in one room. Shanta, y'all don't know who any of these people are.
I knew Eminem. After that, I kind of
Right.
paused.
They were all there, and I was just
Okay.
like,
This is where I need to be.
yeah. So you had nephew was there, my mentor, and roommate. I'll get to that later. But Mike Elizondo, bass player, musician. All these Scott Storch, all these people are like in there,
Uh-huh.
like while I'm sitting there talking to him, and I was like, man, this is where I got to get to.
So when you say you had to get to that place, because I know nowadays, I don't want to say use the word easy, but because of social media, because of the internet, it's a little bit easier to get your name out there. Like the moment you put something, it's kind of available to the open public, right? So how did you end up working your way up? Because you did end up reaching their stage. You end up going there and stuff. So how did you came back home? What was that work ethic like, or how did you get your name out there? Was just sending your manager stuff, or?
It was hard. It was really hard. I mean, it's like you said, times are different, and the word easy is an understatement now compared to how we had to do things.
Yeah.
I would send CDs in the mail and wouldn't hear back for weeks. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You talking about like 10 tracks, and you just like, I just want to hear, did you hear it? Did you like it?
Yeah.
And you waiting 2 weeks to hear back and be like, oh, I just got it. Let me listen to it. Another 2 weeks is just like, you know, just stuff like that. But yeah, the grind was just totally different at the time.
So then with the whole music industry, since we got into this topic, what is one assumption people have about the music industry that you have realized is false? Or was one story once you got out there, you're like, oh, everybody thinks it's like this, but it's not. It's kind of like this.
One misconception is that you have money if you're doing something.
Okay.
That's the main one. Like, I thought once I got there, even when I got a name, people thought you had money. And it's still the same thing, same to this day. They thought you were doing good, but that's, to me, my goal was always to make money.
Yeah.
From doing this.
Music, okay.
Take care of my mom, like all that stuff, or just to be able to take care of myself. But at the same time, I was like, I have to do something.
Yeah.
And the misconception is it's just not what it's cracked up to be.
So just because you have a name doesn't mean you have money. No. So I remember one time, like long time, where you were trying to explain to me record deals or stuff like that. And of course, I don't want you to speak on anything that you don't want to speak. But,
I'm fine. We here.
What is that whole thing about? What is a record deal? Because, people hype up that I just need a record deal. That's all I need, and then I'll be set. But is that true, or what is that even like? What does a record deal even get you?
Depends on your situation. For me, my record deal was, I've been offered more than one, and I've taken a couple. But most people say when they want a record deal, normally they're an artist, and the record company wants that artist to sign to them.
Yeah.
They're gonna offer them a bunch of money up front.
Yeah.
Which you're gonna need at the time.
Yeah.
Because you're broke and you just want money. That's your main goal. Like, I need some money.
Yeah.
And I'll work for it. So they're gonna give you an advance check, but they're not gonna tell you how much you owe them back or how much they're taking off of your record sales once you start selling records.
Okay.
So let's say if I give you $1 million, you're gonna take that. First thing you're gonna do is buy yourself a house, a car, or some stupid jewelry or something stupid.
Yeah.
A bunch of shoes or clothes or whatever. Your money's gone, but you're like, but I got a record. So you're spending that money.
Oh, because you're thinking, once I release this, I'm gonna get more money. That's what you're thinking. But that's not what it's like, I'm guessing.
Some of it. Okay. They don't tell you. They tell you in the 40-page whatever, but that you don't read. But you owe that money back.
Yeah.
You shoot a music video for, at that time, cost $1 million. You don't know, that's your whole budget right there, already gone. If you don't recoup that money back, let's say you only sell 300,000 copies of whatever. Yeah. Every time they take you out to eat or they fly people in to do your makeup, hair, and stuff, that's your bill.
That's your bill.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even on the record label.
That's your bill. You're the artist. This is your bill.
Wow.
Your limousine rides, whatever at the time, like you doing, they charging you. And they going to send you a bill if you don't recoup. And if you do recoup whatever the difference is, you know, you get a check for 25,000. You like, where's the rest of it? It's like, well, here it is.
That
You
was all the
stayed at
bills.
this hotel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to fly this person in. So
That's interesting. So then, how does an artist? Is it just on the hope of if their record blows up and they get like a huge amount of money, then they get money back, and then is it kind of like record deals are more like per album or per track or something like that, to the point where it's just they kind of test the waters? I'm guessing it kind of sounds like the record labels are testing the waters to see how much money you'll get, and then if you don't, they're not going to really invest in you again.
they know what they're gonna get
Okay.
before they sign you, for the most part.
Okay.
But it's way different now. It's you don't have record deals like we used to.
Okay.
Now it's more they see your numbers. You're on Instagram, you're on YouTube. They see your followers. You know, it's monetarily very different than it used to be.
Okay.
Money's not coming in even to record labels like it used to. There's just different ways to make money now off the internet as opposed to back then.
Because back then it was more based on album sales or sales of the
Album
records.
sales, merch is a good one. Even concerts is pretty much the only way like artists really made money back then.
Okay.
Like you could sell 10 million records and you know the only money that you're really getting is off your merch and your shows.
Why is that? Because I would assume that concerts were the budget for concerts is from the record label, but is not. So the artist puts all the money for the tours and stuff like that, and then they get that back.
The artists, even from an artist standpoint, forget that. From a producer standpoint, we don't even get paid. We make the records. We don't even get paid off the shows that you perform our music every show.
Yeah.
We don't even get that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you said when you were little and you wanted to be a lawyer, reading the fine print was key to all this, basically. Like studying everything. Because what it, like you're saying, it looks like you have money. It looks like everything. But on the back end of everything, everything's taken away from you eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you handle that? Or did you ever face a circumstance where you felt like you got robbed of what you earned or stuff like that? And then how did you handle that?
Man, I'm going to tell you a short story. When I officially moved to LA, when he said, you know, come out here, you know, like, we ready. And I was in a bad place in my life, like a really bad place. I had, and I don't even know if y'all know this, my two oldest kids are not with from my wife.
Okay.
I had these guys when I was 20 and 22.
Okay.
So when I was 22, that's when I got the call, and I was ready. I was about to join the military. I was just like, I got to do something. So that's when I flew to LA. I had a saxophone and 2 kids. So I sold my saxophone for $150.
What year was this? I'm sorry, because
this was 2004.
2004. Okay.
He was 3 months.
Wow.
No, this is October. So he was 5 months, 4 months, whatever, somewhere around there. So I sold my saxophone for $150. I gave $100 to their mom, and I flew to LA with $50 in my pocket.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I bought a sandwich at my layover. So when I actually got to LA, you know how airport food is.
Yeah.
I probably had like $40 left. Went to my manager's house, stayed there. The same night I got there, we went straight to the studio. So I was working, but I ain't had no money.
Yeah.
I was broke.
Yeah.
And I was still working, just doing stuff and, building relationships with people. But I didn't make my first check until I want to say the end of 2005.
So it was a year later. Wow.
Excuse me. My first check that I did get. 2 checks I got. Well, no, one was cash. The first check, it was a bet. It was cold in LA. People don't think it gets cold in LA. It does.
It was a bet. Okay.
My manager bet me. He had a big pool in the backyard. He said, you can't swim 10 laps back and forth. It was raining outside. It was freezing. He said, you can't swim 10 laps back, because, most black people can't swim. And I was telling him I could swim. I was like, I can swim.
I'm from the beach. You
Yeah.
don't know.
It's like, I got this. But he was like, no. He was like, I bet you $750 you cannot swim 10 laps back and front. Just like, I needed that money so bad. I jumped right in the pool, shirt on, everything. Started doing the laps. Around lap 5, I started getting weak. I was just like, shoot. My body started shivering. I was freezing, but I did it. And he's up in his bedroom out the window with a camera filming. He probably got it to this day. I haven't spoken to him in like 15 years, but
Wow.
he's with the camera crying, laughing the entire time while I'm sitting here swimming. And you got a big t-shirt on. It's like heavy. It's hard to swim. I'm just like. So he gave me $750. Send that to these jokers right there. The other one was another bet. Somebody bet me to. You ever see the Japanese spoons? It's not like a regular spoon, but it's almost like little bowls.
Yeah.
Half of that was full of wasabi. Somebody said,
Oh my
if you eat this wasabi, I give you $40. What does Brian do? I eat the whole thing and literally almost pass out for $40.
For $40. That's crazy.
Send that to these jokers.
So what was the first thing you kept?
So my manager, he was tired of the way I was dressing because we had to go out in public. And all I would wear was like white t-shirts and.
Was this during the baggy days with the Soldier Boy crank that with the long tees and everything?
Yeah, and I would still wear it to this. I don't care, but
you still wear that to this day.
He was tired of the way I was dressing because we had to do like public stuff. We were getting interviewed by, and mind you, I was working around this time. I was working with Neo.
Okay. Yeah.
And he wasn't famous at the time, but he was bubbling like.
Yeah.
And people were coming to talk to him, and they would interview the producers too.
Yeah.
There was cameras everywhere, and sometimes we have to go out and make public appearances, which I'm super uncomfortable with. But it was part of the job. So he gave me $500. He was like, dude, go get some clothes. He said, if you don't go get some clothes, like you can't come out, like you look like a bum. I was just like, whatever. So I took the $500, sent them jokers 4 of it. I bought a pack of white t-shirts, a pair of shoes, and maybe 1 or 2 pair of jeans. So yeah, that's
crazy.
It's the first thing I kept.
That's great. So I'm hearing all this, and I think we're going to take a quick break right now, but I want to come back because what I'm hearing a lot, and which is what I want to get into, is that when you became a dad, you started acting like a completely different person, I'm assuming. In a way, yes. In a way, because I'm seeing that's very, for lack of better terms, responsible of you, that almost everything you're getting, you were sending to your kids. Which I know a lot of people even now don't even do that. So that's admirable to even hear that. That's the first thing you did. And the first time you kept is when somebody said, go buy yourself some clothes. And even that. I mean, I never thought of it 80% like that, of it. Yeah. 80% of it, you're like, let them have it. And let me just make sure I use 100 to buy the stuff I need. So, and it reminds me of my dad because really the other day, like a few months ago, I started talking to my dad about when he came from a different country to here. And the first thing, it was a family of 4, and I asked him, we were just talking about how much money he made or whatever, and he told me how he got ripped off when he first came to America. The people that brought him here, they promised him he would get $2,000 or something every month, and they gave him like $700, and they ripped him off completely. And then when we moved as a family and came under him, he told me basically how much I make now. He fed a family of 4, and then I was just blown away. I'm like, how'd you do that? And he was like, sacrifice. He was like, a lot thing I hear is dads live without a lot just so their kids can have a lot. And then I was like so blown away. And that's kind of where I'm getting from you too. It's just you're like, let me take care of them first, and I'll live with what I got. And I was like, that's crazy. So we're gonna take a quick break right now, guys, and then we're gonna come back with Brian. That's the first time I said that. I can't. I'm crazy. So all right, guys, we'll take a short tea break. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Salty Podcast, where we are just hearing the amazing life story of Brian right now about his whole journey in the music industry and stuff like that. So, can you go dive into your first official check that you got after you got out there in LA and stuff like that?
So, I was working with Neo, and Neo's a R&B pop pop now. He started off as R&B. He's like R&B pop right now. But he's actually a icon as far as dance and all that goes. But we were working together in 2005, and I sold my first. I was working in the industry before then. I did like side work. I would get little stuff here and there. But my first official Brian B. Nasty Reid track, like produced by, not keys played by or strings, was that. So I got $12,500 for that, and it was enough to just like get me started, get my juices flowing. It's like, all right, cool. And I didn't know he was gonna be as big as he is. You know, I was just happy to get paid at the time. And then when it came around for the song to come out, or the album to come out, he was already at 900,000 pre-sales.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I was just like,
I should ask for more.
I'm just like, hey, this is gonna do something. So when you get royalties from that stuff,
okay, yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? I was like, I already own 50% of this song, so I'm like, all right, cool.
So 900,000.
It's like pre-sales. It's already pre-sales. Like it's not even out yet. So yeah, that was my first. My first official check.
Yeah. But I have a question, Brother Brian. How did you keep your motivation level up? Because when we're hearing about, the first check was about almost a year later, but then after that, you talk about how lawyers or contracts don't do well and all that. But how did you keep your motivation up to still keep pursuing music or still keep producing? Because, when life hits you sometimes, you're like, why am I even here? Why am I doing this?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. I didn't keep it up. I couldn't. Life hit me really hard. And like I said, I was out there. I was working, but 12,000 don't last. And then I did work here and there in between, but it was 8,000 here, 4,000 here and there,
Yeah.
Maybe another 10,000 here. But when you're just working the entire time. You don't know when your next check's coming.
Yeah.
And you have 2 kids that you, mind you, excuse me.
You good?
I was flying back and forth every 3 months to see them, to see my kids. So that money was going
quick. Yeah, it was going quicker.
And I was sending them pretty much everything I had almost. Yeah. So my motivation was going. And at the time, me and their mom, we had a falling out. So that was another thing. I would call and, check on them and talk to them every night. It started from hello, we talked to her and then, hand the kids the phone to not answering the phone. Or I was going nuts. I was going crazy. I was literally losing my brain because I wasn't seeing them. And, I was just like, man, it's not worth it. So I couldn't keep up the work. Like, I didn't have it in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd it come back? Like, how'd you end up come back? And, like, what was that journey like? Because I know then you still producing years later, but how was
Yeah.
that journey like?
When I met my wife, she gave me like a lot of motivation to just like breathe again.
Mm-hmm.
I was depressed, dude.
Miss Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Kelly. Okay.
Yeah. I was super depressed. Like I said, I couldn't talk to them. Like it was just like a bad timing. But when she came into my life, it was more of a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And I started making music again. Just like I had some drive.
Okay.
But after a while, it was just like, I got to go home because
Yeah.
I still wasn't seeing my kids. So
you met her in L.A.?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What did she do, or how did you end up meeting her? What was that like?
So me and my roommate, it was one day. So my wife and her sister and her two roommates, they went to church out in L.A. My roommate and my other friend went to the same church. I wasn't going to church at the time. I was the guy that just stayed home because I didn't feel like it. I didn't want to go to church.
You don't want to go to church.
So
Okay.
they met at church they had seen each other a couple times. So my roommate decides he wants to barbecue this particular day.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on their way back from church, and he calls me. I'm at the house. I'm trying to work. I'm not in a good mood. But he's like, "Yo, P, can you clean the house real quick? Like we got some people coming over." I was just like really, like right now? So I cleaned the house up. They come over, and we end up just eating food and talking. And long story short, that was the day I met my wife. She had a headache. She didn't. My friend didn't know where the doggone aspirin was, so he asked me. I went to go get it. We saw each other. We didn't say anything, but it was kind of like, you kind of lock eyes. You know that feeling? It's just like Lord Jesus.
Yeah. Lord Jesus.
So I didn't say anything to her, but she said, I forgot what I said. I had a country accent because I'm from here, but she was just like, "You're not from here, are you?" I was like, "Nah." And then we hit it off from there. And then when she left, I just told my friend, I was like, "I'm going to marry her." And I was looking out the window when she was leaving. So that's how that went.
You knew off the bat?
Yep, sure did. First 5 minutes.
Can you please elaborate how you would know as a young man? How do you know that quick?
Just do. Like when I said, when we looked at each other,
Mm.
I was literally in the fridge getting a bottle of water. And I was looking in the fridge, but I was paying no attention to anybody.
Yeah.
Like I was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
But I saw her, I was just like, and she was looking at me. And I swear to God, I don't know how this works. It's not for everybody, but I instantly knew. I told her, I told my friend, I was like, I'm gonna marry her.
That's crazy.
I really do. Yep.
So, since you mentioned church, I'm guessing Miss Kelly is the reason also maybe that you came back to church.
Yeah. She made me go. She made me go on Easter out there. I didn't want to go. I went and bought a suit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a terrible suit. Cost me like $400, but I bought it anyway. And went to church. And yeah, this is one of the best things that ever happened. That's all.
Oh, praise the Lord. So in that, because I know now you work at the church, you play keys and you help out with the band. You're the band director, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that, I have my curiosity is how did you cultivate your relationship with God, or where did you see God in your life through all this? I know you said Miss Kelly was one of the reasons that you even came back to church, but it's kind of like, how did that happen?
Once I got back, Bishop John was still alive. I don't know if you know. I know you know.
Yeah.
You didn't meet him, probably, but Bishop John was alive. And what he said to me when I moved back, he said, "We have this studio that's sitting here. It's been sitting here all these years." He was like, "I want you to get in there and recreate and reopen it." He was like, "Just take a job here and do that." So I agreed because he was like a father figure to me.
Yeah.
So I agreed to do that. And that was the initial start. I never actually all the way broke it in, but things kind of, I ended up just being the band director and, things from there. But that was the segue into me coming back.
Okay. Now, I know you talked about there was a moment where you were like really down and you're depressed per se, and then you saw Miss Kelly and all the lights came on. You're like, you know what? Life has a meaning. Life has purpose. But has there been a moment where, like you said, you didn't have the motivation, or what was the biggest thing that you learned to overcome through all this? Like, what was the biggest challenge in your life that God helped you out in overcoming all this stuff, or anything like that?
I think just realizing that there is no plateau to where you get to and then everything is just level and cool, like okay, I'm here now.
Okay.
Like, no, there's always something else. There's no comfort zone.
There's no comfort. Okay.
Never. There's always something else to reach for, and I just realized I can't get comfortable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you can ask God for certain things as far as like, Lord, I've been broke all these years. I'm tired of being broke. Let's not be broke. But if you're broke and then you get some money, then you're going to be like, Lord, I'm tired of being sick. I don't want to be like, I'm not saying.
Yeah. I got you. There's always something.
Like, just enjoy the journey. This is life. This is it. Like, this is what we have to, deal with. And that was one of the main things I had to realize. Just, I don't get to relax.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. So in that, I would say like that's something I'm learning about myself right now. Is I was thinking, in my mindset or something, when you have a specific thought pattern that you think about certain things every year, or if you constantly think negative or something like that, I realize there's not a moment where it's a switch and you're not going to be that way. It's a daily process of, you know what, today I choose to be a certain way. Today, one of the segments I do at the podcast is like, I'll say like a verse of the week or sermon of the week. And I encourage people to like really get into the word, because once you know the truth of the gospel and truth of the word, it helps you in changing yourselves or change your mindset of understanding that every day is a new day with new challenges, but that doesn't mean you can't face it. The verse that I've been really in my heart lately, it's I think in Proverbs 4 or something, it says, bind mercy and truth around your neck and let them be an ornament around your neck. And the one thing that it really builds me up is that knowing that no matter what challenge I face today, God's got me. The truth, that he is with me, the truth that I will see good days, the truth that I will see his promises, I will see his word, knows that no matter what I face today, I'll overcome it. And when we look at people like in the Bible, like David, when we talk about Goliath, the bear, and then the lion, it's the thing of God took him stage by stage, but whatever battle he faced, God called him to overcome. It wasn't like God sent him in a losing situation.
Right.
And I think sometimes we get so caught up in a problem that we're like, when are we going to get out of it? But we sometimes don't realize, wait a minute, this is just another opportunity for me to just learn something else. Yep. And last year around this time, I went to a conference in South Carolina where I heard Bishop T.D. Jakes. And that was one of the most life-transforming conferences I ever went to, just because it was just an interesting season in my life last year, to where I was like struggling with a lot of fears or whatever. And then I just heard Bishop T. Jakes talks about how you have to put yourself in the room. Like, you have to put yourself in situations where God can speak to you and stuff like that. And then I heard about the conference and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. It was an 8-hour drive. And I was like, on the drive there, I was like, God, I'm driving 8 hours. Help me. Do so, like, give me something. I'm driving 8 hours just to sit in this place, just to hear. And then the one thing I heard that during that time was Bishop Jakes talked about the battle is my bread. And it just flipped the switch on whenever you face a challenge. He talked about how no challenge can overtake you. God does not tempt you with more than you can handle. And in that moment, everything you face is not a battle to destroy you, but it's bread to give you for the next one.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I learned about all that, and I encourage people to just get into the word. In that, Brother Brian, is there something you would, I know people ask this and people end up saying like, no, there's nothing I would change or whatever about my past because of that I'm here today. But is there anything that you would tell your younger self when you were, because I'm, like when you're 20 years old, when you're 15, when you're 16, when you first started going off, anything you wish you would have known then that you know now?
It's a good question. Sure. I wish I would have known that there's no plateau. there's no level to where like I said, you get to relax or just not take every day one day at a time.
Yeah.
I have kids, so they have to go through things. I can't do it for them. If I didn't go through the stuff that I went through, I wouldn't know how to raise them because you know everything would be just easy. You know what I mean? So no, I wouldn't change anything.
I got you.
Nope.
So in that, when you talked about your kids, I think fatherhood is something, well, I haven't experienced it yet, praise the Lord. I'm not married. So
take your time, brother.
I'm going to take my time. I'm only 24. I got a long way to go. But I know that when you become a father, I've heard many stories about how your whole life perspective changes.
It does.
You see different things about God that you never heard before. You see different things about whatever. And so as your goals as a 16, 15-year-old or whatever, and then once you got kids, how did you see or what changed in your mind or what was the catalyst that made your goal switched? Or did your goal switch when you became a father?
I had something to do.
You had something to do, okay.
Before I had kids, it's like I'm chilling. It's not that I didn't have goals, but it was like I got something to do right now.
Yeah.
When I had my first son, I was 20, and I ain't gonna say I was super wild, but I wasn't. Yeah, you can say that a little bit. I wasn't in the best position, and I wasn't doing things the way I should. But I used to take him to work every day. I had him in my car seat. In the studio, I would throw him in the booth and turn the microphone on so that when he started crying and when he woke up, we could hear him. So I was making bottles in the little kitchen and like, y'all got back there. Like, I was a dad.
Crazy.
So it's like, it's not about you anymore. Like, you have somebody else. You got some focus right here. Yeah. So, and then when this Joker came, it was even more like, good grief. Like, I really have something to do. Like, so it mellowed me out. It calmed me down to, certain things I can't do anymore. Just like, look, be dad.
Be dad. With that, what is some advice that you would give for aspiring artists? Now, we got into the whole situation where we talk about have a lawyer and make sure it's not a lawyer connected to anybody else except you so they can look out for you. But other than that, how do you maintain originality, and what is something that you would advise upcoming artists to be like, hey, focus on this or focus on this?
I don't know. That's hard.
Oh, let's start with that. How do you maintain being original? Let's go.
I'm not. Nobody is.
Okay.
But you do have to recognize who your influences are.
Okay.
And it's okay to be inspired by them, but don't try to be like them.
Okay.
Excuse me. When I first started, like I wanted all my beats to sound like Dr. Dre. I was copying his drum patterns, his pianos, and then I wanted to be like Knots, and I would copy his bass lines, and I wanted to be like Bink. I would copy his toms that he did. I'm just like, I didn't have any original. Like, there was nothing you could say about what I was doing that said that sounds like Brian.
Yeah.
So I had to find my sound with all of these people who inspired me to sound like me. Now you can hear stuff and be like, I know for a fact Brian did that track. You know what I mean? So it's just all about, just take inspirations, but don't be a copycat.
Don't be a copycat.
Right.
Okay. I got you. That's actually really good. So what is some piece of advice that you can give to upcoming artists? Well, if you had to give them one thing to be like, hey, go on this direction, or is it one thing you could say to them if you had like 2 minutes, what would be something you would encourage them with?
Just be yourself. Because it's like I said, it's different today, and it's a lot harder to give advice. Because I don't know of. There's no format today like it used to be. Like it used to be like sing your demo tape in, or do this and that.
Okay. Yeah, I got
There is none of that.
Yeah.
Right now you could say develop a following, things like that. But in the end, like, be authentic, be yourself. If this is for you, it's gonna happen, and don't let up. Just stick to your craft. If this is what you want to do, keep doing it and figure it out as you go. Sometimes it takes people 20 years before they pop. I hate to say it, but it's true. You know what I mean? Look at D Smoke. He's my age, and he just it looks like overnight, but he's been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah. I think you said it. If it's for you, it'll end up happening at some point or the other, which is amazing. So, and we'll end off with these two things. One, let's just do like a little fun thing. What is I think the most A-list celebrity you met and your interaction with them? Has there been any awkward interactions? Has there been any like, dang, I wish that didn't happen? Or what's been your best stories with that? Let's in a happy story or whatever.
Awkward. I stepped on Tatiana Ali's foot one night. Y'all too young.
I don't.
She's Ashley off of Fresh Prince.
Okay.
Yeah, I stepped on her foot one night. It was just pretty embarrassing. We were at Brandy's house. Y'all don't know who Brandy is either. Jesus. Yeah, Moesha. We were all at her house, and I stepped on her foot, and it was just like, it was just embarrassing. I didn't mean to do it, but it was just like, the way she looked at me, it wasn't like, I said I'm sorry, but it wasn't like, no, it's okay. It was just kind of like she was annoyed. Anyway, Jay-Z and Beyonce one night, we were at Usher's Grammy party, and I had a bracelet on my wrist. I had met Beyonce before when I was, like he said, when I was like 16.
Okay.
This was my first time meeting Jay. He knew me, but it was our first time like face to face. I had a bracelet on, and their bodyguard, I went to go give him dap. Like I went, put my hand up. His bodyguard just grabbed my wrist and like did like this kind of, I don't know what he did. He like dismantled my whole bracelet before I could even get my hand to him. I'm just like, good God, my bracelet was like off my wrist by the time I could actually just like, dude, what the heck are you True story.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So I know you said Dr. J was your hero, but has there been any other person that you really looked up to and that you were just in awe? Well, not in awe, but in meeting, you were just trying to take every moment and you try to learn as much as you can, or you're just trying to cherish every moment you had with them?
I talked to Michael Jackson for a really long time.
Wow. Okay.
We never met face to face. We were about to before I moved back and before he passed away. He gave me some really great advice about some stuff I was going through at the time. And it was just weird to me because he's like the guy everybody wants to meet. Yeah. Like, you know who Michael Jackson is and you're 24. Yeah. Like, your kids will know who he is. Yeah. He talked to me for a good 2 hours, and I was having a really bad day. Okay. It was tough. When I say bad day, it was like the worst day. But he encouraged me. He, just gave me some of the best advice I could ever get. We talked about working together. He was like, yeah, bring the kid. These two jokers were little babies at the time. He was like, yeah, bring the kids out and we'll, And this is when he was living in Bahrain at the time. Mm-hmm. He lived in LA too, but he had a house in Bahrain. So we were going to fly out to Bahrain, and I had sent him some work. Yeah. The work I did with Neo, some of the songs that Neo has now, he was sending to Mike to actually, Mike was going to do some of. Yeah. But that for sure is like the top. Definitely.
That would be amazing.
Iconic right there. Like
Michael Jackson. You're like, I talked to Michael Jackson.
On the phone.
On the phone.
For 2 hours. Definitely.
That's crazy. I think that would be that's the best. Wow, that's like if I had talked to some pastor, like Pastor Stephen or something, or Bishop T.J. That's where I would be in my mind. I was like, yo, I just talked to
I
them
would love to talk to TD Jakes for 30 minutes.
for 30. What? So in that, what is there anything about, like you brought up T.D. Jakes? Anything with like Christian stories? Not, I don't want to say Christian stories, but T.D. Jakes. Why do you want to talk to T.D. Jakes?
He's just full of wisdom, and you gotta have both.
Okay.
For me, ministry side is as you guys can see, I'm a different breed as far as what your typical ministry side is, or how it's typically done in church. And this is why I'm here. I had a studio friend of mine. He owned the studio that I used to work at. He was pretty sick. I heard he was sick. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I ended up FaceTiming him, and he looked pretty bad on FaceTime. So I led him to the Lord, and he passed away 9 days later.
Wow.
Ended up finding out that his son was on the phone at the same time praying the same prayer. But sometimes you have to be in certain situations. Like, I still go to the studios. I'm out there. I don't do everything I used to do, but sometimes it takes different type of people. Y'all see me at church. I'm out there with my hat on. Like, people don't do that, but you need people like me to bridge the gaps, or you know, to you need all of us.
Yeah. How do you balance the two? How do you balance and keep yourself in a healthy mindset and stuff like that?
It's not always healthy. I'm not in a healthy mindset right now. It's the climate. It's pretty bad. You know what's going on with you know, everything, racial stuff, and I got 4 sons. I bought my son a car last week, and I was scared to give it to him because I'm scared for him to get pulled over. So it's very different. Yeah. But one day at a time. Screw up some days and get up the next, and you know. You know.
No, I'm sorry that you do have to think about all those things. How do you best advise those situations, or how do you best handle them as being a father? That's a scary thought to even think about.
We pray. I yanked my kids out of bed probably around midnight a couple weeks ago. We had to have the talks and stuff like that. But we're a strong faith-based family. We pray, and my wife is strong. Excuse me. She keeps me on my toes for the most part, and when I'm weak, God is strong. You know, just do the best you can. Yeah, no, I feel that. I've been really trying to analyze that verse recently. The whole when I'm in my weakness, He is made strong. His strength is made perfect.
I still don't understand it, if I'm being honest with my life. I'm just like, Jesus, what does that even mean? I was like,
His strength is always perfect, so it's not yours. So don't rely on your own. That's because if you rely on your own strength, that's when you screw up. So that's how I take it. People can interpret it any kind of way they want, but that's what it means for me and for you know, for my family. I know in my weakness, His strength is always perfect. So,
well, thank you, Brother Brian, so much for being part of this podcast. It's been an honor to have you. Hopefully, I can have you again, just because of, I think there's a lot of stories, 20 plus years in this music industry, especially, you know, your stories with the contracts or all that, and then you met Beyonce and then all this stuff, which is surreal to even think about, and then you're here with me in this podcast to put this all together. So it's been an honor to have you on this podcast, and I thank you so much
thanks
for being
having
here.
me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. You were more than welcome anytime, brother. You just hit me up and be like, hey, I want to talk about something. I will be here to talk about it with you. So thank you guys. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out Brother Brian. Do you have anything coming up, or is it all just secret?
It's not secret. I just did a song with Maya. Y'all Too Young for Maya too. 2. It's called "You Got Me" Part 2. That just came out a couple weeks ago. I have some other stuff I sent her. I don't know if it's, we'll see about that. But got some other independent projects coming up. A lot of stuff. I'm always working. So, but I don't want to put anything out that's not actually like, But yeah.
How do you have that threshold? The last question: how do you know when something is good? Rather than just the feeling, but how do you know in your ear you're like, this is a hit?
I don't know. Sometimes you can tell if it's a hit, or sometimes you can tell if it's good. Like a lot of the stuff that I do from just my own stuff, like making tracks, the stuff I like, nobody cares about. I'm just like, and I'll play it and they be like, all right, go to the next one. I'm just like, this is the one that actually took me 3 hours, but the one that took me 10 minutes, they like, so you never know.
To each their own. What's up?
Deb?
We'll just start again. But all right, guys, thank you guys so much for joining.